The production timeline in high-end visual effects is a brutal environment where project entropy and rapid iteration cycles constantly threaten to tear a pipeline apart. This collapse typically stems from a technical bottleneck: the reliance on automated, one-click effects and brute force composition duplication. These amateur shortcuts create brittle project architectures that buckle the moment a client requests a global revision. Industrial-grade project governance and non-destructive methodology provide the only viable alternative for professional-scale work. Pipeline stability requires engineering a non-destructive environment that scales from the OS folder level down to the individual alpha channel. Professional compositing begins with a fundamental rule: a project must be navigable by any artist at any time, without a guided tour. Maintaining a stable pipeline requires that the internal After Effects project panel hierarchy strictly mirror the physical OS drive folder structure. Moving even a single file at the OS level in a disorganized project creates a cascade of offline media flags and broken links. Leading zeros are mandatory for file versioning, a practice known as the zero rule. Labeling a file V001 rather than V1 ensures strict chronological sorting by render managers and operating systems. This rigid, synchronized structure enables direct integration with enterprise-level digital asset management databases, where unique asset IDs ensure file uniqueness across the network. Synchronized folder organization serves as the physical guardrail that prevents the creative muscle of a project from collapsing under its own weight. Professional green screen extraction requires moves beyond the one-click keylight workflow used by beginners. A single pass key forces a mathematical compromise. The aggressive settings needed to create a solid, opaque core for the subject inevitably destroy fine edge details like hair. The multi-pass extraction protocol solves this by separating footage into specialized layers. The core mat uses aggressive clipping to guarantee total opacity in the center. Conversely, the edge mat strictly preserves fine hair strands, leaving the center transparent. Because noise and grain, often caused by high ISO, create chatter in a mat that keyers cannot resolve, you must denoise the footage before extraction. This provides a clean mathematical signal for the chroma separation algorithm. Professional keying functions as a surgical architectural build, where specialized layers solve distinct mathematical problems. Green screen production results in a physical byproduct, green light reflecting off the set, and mathematically contaminating the subject's skin and hair. Standard hue shifting frequently destroys natural skin tones, making the advanced spill suppressor the required tool for professional neutralization. Utilizing the Ultra method within the spill suppressor allows the software to intelligently neutralize bounce height by calculating replacement tones based on the intended background. The Key Cleaner tool works in tandem with Keylight, using an edge radius to mathematically smooth transitions and recover lost subpixel hair details. Artists must verify edge fidelity against the final intended background plate, as keying in isolation over a black background hides critical errors. Achieving a pristine key requires a specific, non-destructive sequence of isolated mathematical corrections, rather than a brute force approach with individual sliders. Believable day-to-night conversions require more than a simple blue opacity wash, which frequently produces an amateur result. This waveform shows the Purkinje effect, where human eyes lose color sensitivity in low light. We mimic this by aggressively desaturating the image. Next, an S-curve darkens midtones and crushes blacks. Absolute blacks must remain neutral, avoiding a flat blue video wash. To prevent a flat composition, artists manually mask and recover artificial highlights, like windows or street lamps, with warm tones to simulate active light sources. Effective day-to-night conversions simulate the biological physics of light and human vision, rather than treating the image as a flat painting. Believable sky replacements rely entirely on procedural matte generation, an approach which captures far more detail than manual, hand-drawn masks. Tools like IllumaKey or Colorama procedurally isolate the sky based on inherent luminance data, ensuring physical accuracy along complex horizons. A static sky behind a moving camera immediately reveals a composite as a failure. You must execute a 3D camera track to lock the new sky plate to the mathematical movement of the original live-action camera. This 3D view shows the sky plate pushed deep backward in Z-space and scaled up to compensate for the distance. This Z-space offset automatically generates correct parallax, causing the sky to move slower than the foreground subject to mimic physical reality. Believable atmospheric composites rely on the spatial rules of a 3D environment for seamless integration. Multi-format campaigns for 16:9, 9:16, and 1:1 aspect ratios often lead to a workflow nightmare of duplicating independent compositions. This creates a significant risk. If a client changes a brand color, the artist must manually open and edit dozens of disconnected files. Essential properties establish a single source of truth. An artist builds a master composition and exposes parameters, like text or color. Nesting this master allows the artist to override those properties locally without duplicating the source file. Style changes can be pushed from a local instance back to the master composition, globally updating the entire campaign. Essential properties replace manual duplication with a globally linked motion graphics architecture that scales across formats. The final technical friction point involves hardware limitations and timeline lag caused by dynamic calculations. Forcing After Effects to calculate heavy 3D scenes or particle simulations during every timeline scrub slows down the iteration cycle. The pre-rendering protocol involves baking heavy elements into high-quality image sequences with embedded alpha channels. Regular memory and media cache purging remains a crucial habit to eliminate phantom artifacts, where the software displays cached frames reflecting outdated edits. Rigorous naming conventions, isolated mattes, and non-destructive essential properties define the methodology of a senior compositor. Mastering these systems removes technical friction, transitioning the workflow from manual execution to strategic architectural management.